host such event as Government Relations Forum every year. So here in the United States, we organize this event together with our co-organizers. It's by Atlantic University. You're here now. So it's one of the best universities for international students, and they do also fascinating research work. Our partner Paolo will spoke a little more about university and other co-organizer. It's think tank Global Policy Institute. So thank you so much for work with us today. And a little bit information about IGAPA from me, and small presentation, and also some numbers about like lobbying in the world to jump into the industry. IGAPA is community of professionals who work on such issues. I will move here because IGAPA is a community of professionals who do government relations work, advocacy work, and also in Europe, usually it's people who practice in election organizing and like campaign management. Why? Because like in the United States, we have pretty separate like sectors of government relations professionals and lobbyists. And in like Eastern Europe, Central Asia, Africa, sometimes it's the same people who organize election campaign and who do lobbying work. So now we have more than 700 members, some very active like you who came here to the United States. Some people just read our newspaper and newsletter and wrote some articles. And some people organize also like very active work in their countries, like people in Ukraine, in Georgia, in Israel, Kazakhstan, Canada. So they also have very active departments of IGAPA who have deep conversations and networking for government relations professionals in their countries. Oh, Baltic states also very active, for example. And we not just like community for like experience exchange and education. We also community for real networking, so where people can find clients, contractors, partners, and so on and so forth. Because like you live in DC, so sometimes networking for networking it just not work. You can come to like 100 events every day here in Washington DC or in New York, but sometimes you feel that it's just not useful, right? And here we very clear in our stand that we want people to work in small groups. We want to be honest that like our company SIC Group want to sell to you media and government relations, and we interested in new clients, and if you're interested in us as a partner in like educational programs, we're also happy to do that, right? And I think it's also very useful for people who came from other countries for like 2 days and who want to understand also vibe of DC, and like maybe to support some advocacy here, to listen some educational courses, but they also want to find partners, to work for, I don't know, like clients from Moldova here in Washington, D.C. And of course, it's interesting for lobbyists here because international clients also good clients. Short-term, very beneficial contracts, right? Americans long-term, international short-term. Yeah, so what we generally do every year, so it's annual government relations forum, and generally it's smaller in United States because like in Istanbul we collect much more people, or in Kiev, Ukraine, or in Strasbourg, because it's easier with immigration, as you know. And with visa issues here we have more narrow community, but very professional community. Of course, the most active members, people from United States, Canada, Great Britain, and countries where lobbying it's like, big budgets. But people from Baltic states also very active. Seminars and webinars, so usually if it's like a seminar about government relations in Africa, it's online. And you can watch all the seminars on IGAPA.net YouTube. And social events and for public professionals, some research, which we share with think tanks like Institute for Democracy and Development, GPI, local think tanks, and advocacy projects. So we do advocacy, and generally we also do lobbying for lobbying laws. So, for example, in Ukraine, we helped to create lobbying law. In Israel, we also was in contact with people who created lobbying law to share their experience worldwide. In Baltic states, we also in contact, and in Slovenia with people who create lobbying law and transparency register. So generally, if in your country you need lobbying law, we can help to this dialogue with your parliament about like how it must look like to make it work and to fight with corruption with transparent practices of lobbying. So wonderful time, right? So God give to us very wonderful time when our people in Europe can show this presentation and we see here, right? So it's some information about lobbying in Europe from our office in Brussels. So here it's also how many people and organizations register as a lobbyist. So it's not so many as in the United States. So as you see, it's more than 10,000 people and organizations who work in Europe as a lobbyist. One more time, like registration in Europe not so strict as here in the United States. So let's be honest, some people work without registered. In United States, like people who lobby in Russian efforts, for example. They obviously not registered. So next slide, we can see the same data about, also about European Union and who pay for that, right? So 162 corporations and trade associations spend 343 million a year, which also one more time, on my humble opinion, it's not full price which lobbyists pay in Europe for advocacy and lobbying. But it's what we have like official in transparency register of European Union. And we will discuss a lot in panel discussions. Is it good? Like more like less strict law, so it's not good, right? But it's some numbers who paid. So it's big tech, banking, energy, chemicals, and agribusiness. And it's very important like to understand whole picture for now. Let's move a little quicker. Yeah, so one more time, who spent a lot. So, for example, companies from Ireland, then also people from United States do lobbying in European Union. And as you see, also if like these corporations used to register it officially in United States, they do the same in Europe. So it's interesting. And obviously, if you like work with somebody here, you can propose to them work in other countries in the European Union, and also masштабиze your business, right? So Apple also put a lot of money to Europe, Google, Amazon, all these companies are nearby. So let's move forward. It's more than 100 big spenders in Europe, and I put your attention that it's mostly American companies in Europe, which is interesting. And obviously a little bit about money. So now how much money like company spends in Europe? Airbus, for example, spent around 2 million to lobbying, and also Saab company, some other companies. So as you see, these budgets pretty modest if compared to budget in the United States. But one more time, like they can also invest a lot to research, think tank work, and we will discuss, is it lobbying or no, like think tank work? It's big discussion. Or what about like big businesses who go to government? Is it new American oligarchs or no, right? So it's interesting question for our industries, and we will discuss it. Let's move in a little quicker to other numbers. EU Commission, it's 3 years lobbying, so we can discuss this later. Then also United States, it's very different numbers. It's $4.4 billion in our industry. That's why people pay interest to our conference and our community. So 4 billions, and now as you see, it's the same trend as expenses to elections. So lobbying in the United States became more and more expensive, and elections became more and more expensive. And it's big issue for like our market. Is it okay that like member of Congress must mostly do fundraising work but not like legislative work? Is it okay that lobbying became more and more expensive, and if you like small community you can do like effective advocacy? So It's a big question, but it's more than 4 billions. To compare, for elections, American candidates for presidential elections also use around $2 billion. It's billions anyway, so we all have a lot of work. And it's both for federal lobbying spending. You also have numbers. Okay, let's move forward. Who spends those money? So after this conference, we must send some proposals, right, to clients. So it's pharmaceutical companies and health products. One more time, it's can be different between Europe and the United States, right? And electronics, equipment, insurance, security, gas and oil, real estate, air transportation. Also, structure of the spending in Europe and in the United States is different. And of course, it's also correlated to donations, like to political action committees, super PACs, and we can discuss them. Pretty enough for everybody, so let's move forward. It's about cryptocurrencies company. Yeah, it's a new market, cryptocurrencies companies, and it's like now big trend that they donate a lot to elections, and they also spend a lot to regulations. And like every new regulations, we will discuss it, right? Next slide. Yeah, and of course about scandals. So some people even try to do bribery work, but not lobbying work. And generally, mission of IGAPA also to move to developing democracies, not to communistic countries, but to developing democracies, other practices, and to explain that, look, you must build long-term association building, long-term relationships, and do classical government relations and lobbying work. Because otherwise you have such scandal as Huawei, for example, and it's not only one scandal which they have generally in work with different governments, but anyway, we must avoid that for our clients, right? And I know that we have 2 more slides. It's one more slide about scandal, and it's from other side, how politicians must behave in contact with lobbyists. And that's why we invite some politicians from different levels to explain how they behave in dialogue with lobbyists, and we also have some from European Union to compare. And if you're interested in practices from Africa, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, you can watch other discussions online of IGAPA.net. Yeah, that's it. And I encourage you to be active, to ask questions. Our discussion was online and offline. Our moderators also will monitor questions online from Zoom. And obviously this Zoom will be on every platform. And I want to thank to our media partners. So it's 97.5 Beer Radio, Sveno Down, Pass of America, and 17 local news, Twist News, Epoch Times, Lenta UA, and Alatra TV, and also, of course, to our main partners, GPI, Institute for Democracy and Development, C Group by Atlantic University, and big thank you to team of IGAPA in Europe. It's very hard work to organize such conference, and to our team here, it's a lot of work, so thank you so much. I only speak in these people doing this, Valentina, Irina, Dina, and other also Diana, Daria, Sergei, it's our people in Europe, so thank you so much to everybody. And let's also please join to our community, be active in our community. You can join online. If you want to work with SAC Group on here, all lists, political management, advocacy, lobbying, public relations, and international media work, we will be happy to work with you and with your clients. So we start this networking. Next issues, Paolo von Schirach will share with you. He will tell you some information about Atlantic University, their work, and work of GPI think tank. And also, we have honor to have him as a moderator of our first panel. So Paolo, thank you so much for joining, and please tell us a little bit about your work, which is huge, but we're very interested in that. Thank you so much, Paolo.